Hey everyone, it's Lori, and I'm here today with a new video idea. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and I may do a part two. But a while back, I was watching YouTube, as I've been doing more during 2020 since I'm home a lot. And I noticed how many of the YouTubers I follow have books. So I read 3 different books by YouTubers. None of them are booktubers or in the book community this time around, anyway. And I just thought it would be fun to kind of read their books and see what I thought of what they had to offer. So, getting started, the first one I want to talk to you about is the beauty YouTuber Samantha March. Now, Samantha March has a little over 100,000 followers, and she does makeup and beauty videos. She does skincare and things like that. But she's also an author, and she runs a blog. I will link it below. I believe it's called Chicklet Plus or something. So she writes essentially chicklet. She's written a number of books. Her most recent books have all been in a series. So when I went looking for one of her books to try out, I actually picked out her debut novel, which was called Destined to Fail. Now, Destined to Fail is the story of Jasmine Jones as she moves from high school to college. And it has to do with a lot of different relationships in her life. Her relationship with her best friend that she moves to college with, her boyfriend she's leaving back home, her mom, and just it talks all about her struggles in this transitional period. So, I enjoyed this book. I am not the biggest romance chick lit kind of person, so I don't read a lot in the genre. But I thought it was a cute entry to writing books like this. And since it was her very first book, I kind of expected it to be at about that level. So, first off, the name of the main character. I believe the main character seems to be based in a lot of ways, temperament and appearance-wise, on Samantha March. It's also set in Iowa, which is where she is from. So I think she was taking a lot of what she knew and putting it into this book. I'm guessing not all of the things in the book come from her own reality, but there are quite a few dramatic things that happen throughout. The naming of the main character of Jasmine Jones just makes me think of Marvel or DC or some sort of comic book, honestly. Just sounds like a comic book name. She was a somewhat relatable character. I did struggle though because one of the main premises of the story is that Jasmine doesn't have a lot of money or anybody to fall back on. So she's trying to kind of make it on her own. The problem is that she has an extremely stylish wardrobe. She, has what appears to be plenty of spare time to hang out with friends and go shopping at the mall. And it doesn't say she buys stuff. Maybe she's just window shopping. She has no fallback. It doesn't talk about any scholarships she has, but she's at this private college in Des Moines, and living in apartment style housing. Now, I know nothing about the college or even if it actually exists. I probably should look into that. It just felt kind of it felt as though somebody was writing about having money problems who's never had money problems before. Now, that may or may not be true. I don't know. I know that Samantha March is a really hardworking person. She has her blog, she writes books, she does YouTube, she has a podcast. She's one of those kind of go people, it appears. So, not surprising that she put some of that into the book. I just kind of felt like it was kind of unrealistic that she was at this private school and she had a car, but she didn't have any financial stuff to back it up. And in fact, she had all of her savings depleted before she went to college. That part I just felt kind of was unbelievable. And there was a part about how she needed to get a job to help pay for college. And it was but then she worked at the fitness center, and it just didn't feel like that would have been enough hours or enough money to make the financial difference that she seemed to be needing to make. So that was my major criticism of the book, was just basically that I thought this whole money problem situation was kind of unrealistic. Her lifestyle seemed unrealistic for her money problems. As for kind of the romance part of the book, I kind of enjoyed her boyfriend. He's a farmer. And there was kind of a conversation I really related to where he was talking about something, and she had to kind of fess up that she didn't know what a combine was, because at one point I did not know what a combine was either. So there were some really cute things in there. But there's just a lot of like angsty drama, and that's not like my favorite thing ever. But I did enjoy reading it. I didn't like DNF it or anything. I thought it was a fairly good chick lit book. As per most chick lit, in my experience, it always tends to be a little more sexually explicit than I really appreciate, and that was kind of the case here too. I really didn't need to hear about their intimate life together. So it was a pretty good book. I would consider reading another one of her books. I don't think she's going to become like a new favorite author or anything, since it's not really a genre I tend to go for. But it was a fun one to read, and it was kind of nice to see what her books are like, since I've known that she wrote books for quite a while. The second YouTuber that I read a book by was Chelsea Fagan. She is the head of, she started the channel The Financial Diet, and The Financial Diet has more than 800,000 subscribers. So The Financial Diet is targeted at not me. It's more targeted at millennial women, and in a lot of ways at more urban dwelling women. But I do enjoy watching the channel. I love money stuff. It's just, you've put dollar signs in front of a math problem and all of a sudden I can do it. So I'm a big fan of kind of financial stuff. So I have watched videos on The Financial Diet for quite a while. And she's written at least 2 books, and I actually have the other one waiting for me, but I got the hold on her newer book, which is titled The Financial Diet, from the library while I was reading all these books. So that's the one I did this time. And it was an interesting money book. I have read a lot of money books over the years, a lot of books about saving money or investing or budgeting. I'm a nerd. I don't know what to say. The thing that I thought was unique about this book versus a lot of other money books is that it kind of looked at your whole life, not just in terms of like, where can you cut money from? Because a lot of books will be like, okay, so here's how you cut money from your grocery bill, and here's how you cut costs in housing. But this book was a little bit unique in that it talked about having the life you want. So it's not so much necessarily about saving as much money as humanly possible, but about creating a life that is the kind of life you want to lead. So I really enjoyed the chapter on food, because it wasn't just like the general advice of here's how you save money at the grocery store, or, you know, just eat out less and you'll save all sorts of money. Of course, she does point out that if you're eating out all the time, you are spending a lot of money on that. But she kind of goes through and says you should have some tools in your kitchen to make your cooking life easier, and you should have a number of recipes that you just kind of have in your back pocket that you can pull out at any time and make. And she talks about what kind of pantry staples are good to have in the house and that sort of thing. So I really appreciated kind of going more in depth on how to live the life you want to live while saving money, rather than the book just being wholeheartedly about saving money. I also really like the chapter on home, because it talked about how to learn some skills and do some DIYs to get the home you want without just shelling out lots of money for it. So like DIYs and what kind of tools to have on hand, even if you're a renter. And it is very much targeted towards women, this book. Not that men couldn't read it, it just is targeted towards females. The chapter on love was interesting. I didn't really love it. I mean, I've been married for 20 plus years now. So it's definitely targeted more at singles or young married couples. And then the whole love chapter just was wrapped up with the show Sex and the City, and that's just not really my thing, not my generation. And that's okay. Maybe it's great for a certain age people, but I imagine that people significantly younger than me, like, I feel like Chelsea must be like 5 to 10 years younger than me. But if we look at people who are 20 years younger than me and just getting started, I don't know if the Sex in the City metaphor would really work that well for 20 somethings. So that one was a little bit of a miss for me. But overall, I really enjoyed the book, and I think it would be a pretty good book for somebody just getting out on their own, as long as they're okay with a little bit of Sex in the City-ish stuff in there. Like, I don't particularly like that. Kind of a long-standing thing on this channel, me saying, I don't really like the sexual content. Didn't really like the sexual content. I don't really know why we needed to have that even in a chapter on love and money. I don't need to hear about TV shows and what happened on them. So, overall, really good book. As long as you're okay with dealing with that chapter or just skipping the chapter on love, I don't think you'd miss out on much. I thought it was a useful book. And then the last book I read was by Rhett Link, who are the hosts of Good Mythical Morning, and they have more than 16 million subscribers, so like by far the biggest YouTubers I probably follow, just because they're funny, and we've needed a lot of humor this year. So I read their new book, which really isn't that new, but it came out like in the past year, The Lost Causes of Bleak Creek. Again, this book is not targeted at me. I believe it's more of like a YA book, and it's kind of like a almost supernatural thriller, I guess. I don't really know how to categorize it, but basically in this story, Rhett and Link have set it in a town very much like the town they grew up in at the same time that they were growing up. So I think it's taking place in like mid 80s. I can't remember exactly when, but being the same age as Rhett and Link, essentially, I really kind of enjoyed the setting of the like 1980s vibes. And they have two characters in there. Let's see if I can remember their names. Leaf or Leif, and shoot, I can't remember. Anyway, they have written themselves, essentially their younger selves, into the book. So that was pretty funny to read too. And then they have another friend named Alicia, who they're making a movie together, and during the making of their a scene in their movie very early on in the book, she gets in trouble, and it all kind of spirals from there. So she's taken away, and so the boys are left to try to figure out how to help her where she was taken. And then there's another woman who comes to town who is there to kind of make a documentary and visit her grandma. And she kind of finds out about this and she gets involved too. So we've got several characters trying to get to this one character who has been taken away. And it gets very kind of weird. And not in a bad way. A very supernatural, kind of creepy vibe to it. I enjoyed the book quite a bit. I particularly liked the ending. I wasn't really expecting the major villain to have a little bit of a humanizing story. And then in the end, it just ends in kind of an interesting way where the documentary maker has made a film, and certain characters have come back and certain characters are missing, and the story around the town is one thing, but it's not the truth. And then there's a super creepy thing that happens right at the very end of the book that almost makes it seem like there could be a sequel to it. So I thought it was fun. Definitely more of a fast-paced YA style book, but I really enjoyed it. So that is all I have for today. Those were 3 books by YouTubers that I read this month. If you would like me to do more, I have several more in mind that I could definitely read, because I had a lot of fun reading these. So feel free to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're not, and chat with me down in the comments. Have you read any of these books? What did you think? Are you wanting to read any of them now? Anyway, that's it for today. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.